The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is presented for information and entertainment only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed therein are not the opinion of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast, presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we discuss the latest news and info that feds need to know, but might have missed in 15 minutes or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, we got you covered at Fed15. So grab your coffee, energy drink, whatever, kick back. We'll let you know what you need to know. I'm your host, joined by Katelyn Murray. I'm Dan Sipe. I'm also the founder of Serving Those Who Serve. So, Katelyn, got some stuff to talk about this week. We did not end civilization.
You know, I mean, there is some beauty in wearing a mask for a different apocalyptic event than the apocalyptic event that I bought it for. So we hope that everybody, you know, we work with a lot of people in the DMV, but we have clients all over the 50 states. So those of you that are further north than us, hopefully the smoke is starting to clear out. I know it's kind of been a rough week, especially for folks with kind of breathing issues. I know we're all feds all the time,
but let's not forget our friends in Canada, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But hopefully the sun will be a little bit brighter this morning as things kind of clear out. And like I said, we send our best to everybody affected. But we have a very exciting episode of the Fed15 for you today. We're going to talk about, we have a continuation of our 5 Fast Facts series. On the blog this week, we'll be talking about a FEGLI. And then Dan has some insights to share about the TSP and kind of how that's performing.
Yeah, because that's what I mean. We managed not to crash civilization by messing up the debt ceiling. So.
True. Man, there's so many.
Much excite.
So many threats to civilization that I lost track of the one. Yeah. Yes, the debt ceiling news was a very big deal.
Yeah, very welcome.
Yeah.
So Katelyn, kick us off. Tell us about FEGLI.
Yeah, let's learn about FEGLI. So like I mentioned, you know, we have a series on our blog where we talk about 5 important facts or 5 fast facts. I like the alliteration there about different components of your federal benefits. And this is a pretty big one, FEGLI, your Federal Employee Group Life Insurance Program. And FEGLI has actually been around. Can you guess the year that FEGLI came out, Dan?
See, I don't have to guess.
Yeah, you just know.
Because I've been around so long, it's one of the few things having to do with feds that's actually older than me.
Oh, wow.
You know, FERS is younger than me. You know, TSP is younger than me. FEGLI is not. 1954.
There you go. That's why he's the guy, folks. Yep, 1954. You are correct.
If that's ever on Jeopardy, I will crush it on Final Jeopardy. Yes,
if there is ever a Final Jeopardy category that is federal employee benefits, the whole team would just like smash it.
Yep.
So the basic benefit, what you know now as the basic FEGLI benefit, has been around since 1954. It is the largest group life insurance policy in the world. But in 1968, there was a little bit of a revision. They added parts A, B, and C coverage, the additional kind of optional coverage for feds and their families. Now, talking about cost and coverage of the plan, your basic coverage is the benefit there is your salary rounded up to the nearest 1,000. So if you make $124,423 or whatever, they would round it up to $125. And then they add $2,000 additional dollars to that. So a salary of $150,000, $10 would equate to $153,000 total death benefit. Now, a third of that cost is paid by the government. The premiums for that plan, 2/3 of it is paid by the employee. If you opt in for option A, you can add another $10,000 of coverage. If you opt in for option B, you can get what's called a salary multiplier. So you can get your basic death benefit times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. That comes with additional premiums that are, of course, paid by the employee. Option C is a little bit of a twist. This isn't actually coverage on the employee. This is coverage that you can take out on your spouse and or your dependents. So for spousal coverage, you can get up to $25,000. And for dependents, you can get up to $12,500 per child. Obviously, those optional coverages, premiums are 100% paid for by the employee. When we talk about FEGLI, and I don't want to get too deep into this because it is just a 15-minute podcast, but you do need to be aware that it is a group life insurance policy. So if you have a spouse and there is an insurance need there for you guys, while you should definitely consider FEGLI as an option, you may, under certain circumstances, actually come out better to get private insurance on your spouse, honestly. And that just has to do with a variety of factors, your spouse's age, their health concerns. If, they have some illnesses that prevent them from going through a med screening, probably not a good idea to go private because it's going to be more expensive. So let's talk about when we can add coverage. So you can add FEGLI coverage when you get hired.
Gotcha.
You can also add it during open seasons. The last one.
That's a trick question, Katelyn.
Yeah. You know what I'm about to say, right?
I do. Yeah,
Unlike open seasons, right? We typically think of open season as November of every year, right? The last open season for FEGLI was in 2016. So you really want to think about having the flexibility to change your FEGLI coverage when it comes to qualifying life events. So this is, you get married, you get divorced, your spouse dies, or you have a new child that's born, or you adopt a new child, right? So we've got a new member of the family that's coming in.
Sure.
Importantly, retirement is not a qualifying life event for the purposes of FEGLI. Okay.
Yep.
So if you are a Fed who is looking kind of towards the road at retirement, if that's coming up soon for you, you need to make sure that you kind of have your FEGLI, you need to evaluate where your FEGLI coverage is, because you're not going to have an opportunity to assess that in retirement. It's not a qualifying life event. When you add coverage, you sometimes need to do a physician approval if it's outside of one of those qualifying life events. And then that comes with a health screening, right? So in that case, it becomes very similar to the private life insurance that we were talking about, where you have to meet certain health metrics and you have outstanding conditions and things like that. You can, however, importantly, drop or reduce coverage at any point. So with FEGLI, we've got to have this qualifying life event to opt into new coverage. We do not have to have a qualifying life event to drop or reduce coverage. So if you're Fed, you're looking towards retirement, know that there's some flexibility in what you can drop, but not on what you can add.
And public service announcement here. Okay. All too many times people end up dropping everything. And Katelyn's about to tell you why you shouldn't do that. So
Exactly. So when we look at retirement for Feds, and again, this is not specialized advice, we are just kind of educating on these topics. If you are going to make any decisions on your FEGLI or you feel like you need help with that, feel free to reach out to us. When we learn a little bit more about your specific situation, then we can be more qualified to give you advice.
Sure.
But in retirement, if you opt for, you have two options for opting for reduction of coverage. So you can just carry your FEGLI coverage as is. The premiums become pretty substantial, as you can imagine, as you age. You have two options for reduction. You can reduce to 50% of the original value, the original coverage, right? So 50% of whatever your death benefit would have been while you were employed. You can also reduce to 25% of that original death benefit. If you reduce to 25%, your premiums are free once you've retired. So once that benefit starts reducing, and by the way, it doesn't immediately on day one of retirement drop to 25% of your original benefit. It reduces gradually, 2%, gradually over time. And when it gets to 25%, it stays steady. But from the moment it starts reducing, you pay no further premiums. Additionally, that option A benefit can reduce the same way to 25% of that original $10,000 death benefit there. Option B, beware. B stands for beware. It can get very, very expensive after age 65, which is, of course, a popular age when a lot of our Feds are looking at retiring. It can get quite pricey. So beware of option B. And also always remember that just because you have access to FEGLI Doesn't mean you should necessarily go with that as your best option. You still have access to private life insurance alternatives as well. If you are healthier, you may end up with a better premium that way. So that's our 5 sort of fast facts on FEGLI.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Quick, weird, fun fact. Option A, everybody goes, why is it only 10,000? Remember when it came in? 1968. Okay. 10,000 was a home mortgage.
Huh. That is a really cool fact.
Yep.
Actually, I've always wondered that. I'm like, why is it only 10,000?
OG knows stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Option A is great. Consider option A because it's free. It's free 99. Consider carrying that.
So, okay. All right. So we're talking TSP, and we did not have a market crash because of the debt ceiling. And hey, look, I'm one color, and it's Fed. So no debt ceiling debacle was good for every single Fed. And whatever you think about the deal, if you're unhappy with some of it, it means it was probably a good deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got that behind us. That's in the rearview mirror. The Federal Reserve is still trying to cool off inflation. So they're trying to figure out, do we pause? Do we continue to increase? I can't predict anything accurately, but I'll be surprised if there's any cut because unemployment and inflation data is still showing a lot of resilience in the economy. And this market has done nothing since 2008 but prove me wrong over and over again. The things that is shaken off continue to surprise me. So let's talk a little bit about how the various funds did. So, Katelyn, all the TSP funds are up for the year, and that's awesome.
Nice.
That was not the case in May. So the I fund slipped 4.01%, and that doesn't mean go sell it. Okay, and I'll tell you why in a second. Just because it has a bad month, you don't get rid of it. The F like Frank fund slipped 1.1%. Again, don't sell it. G was 0.31% up. S fund was 0.44% up. And the C fund was 0.43% up. Right here, you're going, Dan, you're making my head hurt. Why are you giving me these small numbers? Well, those last two end up being over 5% for a year. Okay, when you compound and annualize them, which is not bad. So I told you they're all up for the year, and this is why you now want to smile. So going in reverse order, that C fund is up 9.53% so far for the year. That's just 5 months. Okay, that's a decent year. So reason to be happy there. S like Sam fund up 4% over 5 months. You know, that's going to be close to 9% for a year if it stays with it. No guarantee that it will. That I fund, the one you said, oh, Dan, that stunk. I want to get out. It's up 7.26% for the year. It's number 2 for the year, and it just gave back 4%, which meant what was it doing before? Kicking butt. Okay. Every dog has his day. That's why you want to have an asset allocation. You want to stick with it. You don't want to jump in and out. Don't have an asset allocation. You look for help. Check us out. F fund 2.62 for the year. G fund 1.59 for the year. So pretty decent year going so far. Hope we keep it going. Glad the debt ceiling's behind us.
That was awesome, Dan. Great job. Yeah. This is the tale that we preach all the time. We talk with thousands of Feds every year. And, this is what we teach, diversification. You don't want to pick a horse in the race. We want to make sure that we're appropriately diversified across all those different funds, and that we're kind of making the most of your TSP plan. So as Dan mentioned, if you don't have an allocation, you should definitely reach out. And if you're one of those folks who's all in G, you should probably talk. All right. Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks, but we will absolutely be back next week to bring you all the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and your financial well-being as a Fed.
And Katelyn, don't forget, we have our live webinars coming up. People don't want to miss them. Here's the next 3. June 20th, 1 o'clock is TSP planning with Ed Zerndorfer. That's one of our core 4, super popular. Next one is not popular, but it should be. It's understanding your survivor benefits. Okay. I know it's not going to affect you, but it's going to affect somebody you love. Maybe they should attend. Okay. That's June 21st, 9 a.m. And June 29th, financial planning for federal employees, 1 p.m. Super popular. And I think I know somebody who's hosting that one.
Yeah, the June 29th episode. If you join, I am actually hosting that webinar. So feel free to join and ask all the questions that you have for us.
On the other ones, you might be stuck with me. So,
yeah. Awesome. Well, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on our YouTube channel. It's called Fed Life. That's the name of our YouTube channel. You can see the Fed15 podcast there. Also the Fed Life podcast. Dan co-hosts that with Ed Zerndorfer, one of the foremost experts on federal employee benefits that is out there. So definitely check that out. We are also on Spotify now. So if you choose to get your podcast from Spotify, you can absolutely find us there under Fed15. And please, please, please remember to share our episodes, our content with your friends and colleagues who are in the federal space or federal space adjacent. Now, for more information on the topics that we covered in today's show and more, feel free to check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. And I think there will be a QR code or something somewhere to redirect you on the screen to that site. There you can subscribe to our newsletter, the weekly serving, to get all the latest news for feds delivered straight to your inbox every week if you prefer to read as opposed to listen.
Indeed.
I think that will do us on our housekeeping items. So Dan, do you want to bid the folks farewell for the week?
Absolutely. Listen, watch, read. We got you covered. All of it. We're here for you. Thanks for listening to Fed 15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week.